Becoming a content creator seems like it can be a lucrative business, and for some, it can. Creating consistent quality content is where the field begins to separate, leaving most creators behind. Those creators that build a solid funnel with multiple well intentioned verticals are the ones doing it right. And that is what we're talking about today on iPodcast That 2.0. Music. All right, everybody, welcome back to another episode of iPodcast That 2.0. My name is Brian. I am your host. And today we are talking about a content creator's sales funnel. I'm going to share with you exactly what our funnel is as it stands today here at Sitch Radio. At the very top of this funnel, the white part is where we're catching as much as we can. And we're utilizing the following to catch people and get them into the funnel. Number one, this podcast, the edited version that goes out for free on 30 plus players, iPodcast That 2.0 is at the top of that funnel. That gives people the opportunity to get to know me and get to know what we do here at sitchradio.com. Next are our social media platforms, Instagram, Twitter, TikTok, Facebook, and YouTube. The video version of this does get uploaded to YouTube. YouTube is said to be the second largest search engine in the world. So a lot of people find out about us on YouTube. Now, on the flip side of that, as the audience grows and people start to leave comments, you need to treat that more of the social media platform and engage with that audience that is engaging with you on that platform. The next step in this funnel is the OCLA podcasting meetup group. We host in-person live events here at Sitch Radio once a month to introduce people again to me and what we do here at Sitch Radio. We talk about and or do workshops on multiple topics in relations to podcasting. And we're getting ready to try virtual once a month for the rest of the year to see what that can do to help other people get their podcast started and or get people into our sales funnel here at Sitch Radio. Every networking event I go to, I treat as if it's top of funnel. I get to meet new people. I get to introduce them to what we do here as I learn about what they do and see what we can do to refer people to each other. And running a podcast studio, people are like super excited about meeting somebody that does that usually. And it's a great conversation piece. So I treat those in-person, in real life events as top of the funnel as well. In the middle of this funnel, this is where people start to separate themselves with a little bit of cash for a higher level of content. At the top of this is our written newsletter. This is starting to go out weekly as of this month, October. This is going to give you industry news, studio news, a longer form written piece of content that has something to do in relations to podcasting. It also introduces you our book of the month, and we are doing a crossword puzzle monthly this year. Not quite sure what we're going to do next year, but people can only get this content if they pay the $5.85 a month to get it. So much more value than that $5.85 is worth. However, that's where we're priced at right now. And we're going to stay there throughout the rest of the year. At the end of the funnel, this is where we turn audience into customers. These are the people who utilize studio production services or micro content creation services, our editing services. This is the majority of the revenue the studio makes is at the very bottom of this funnel. Getting somebody from, yeah, I'm thinking about starting a podcast to doing a podcast with the studio. Number one, it's a long sales cycle. Number two, we have to get them over imposter syndrome, tech issues if they're remote and not utilizing the studio. So there's quite a few things that have to go on there. And it's a relatively long sales cycle, but it all starts with that top of funnel. So this is our funnel in a nutshell. If you're reading the newsletter, there's a graphic over there that explains things a little more. And I go into quite a bit more detail in the newsletter. So moving on to industry news. Amazon launches a Clubhouse-like app that includes music, turning everybody into a DJ. This story came to us from The Verge. A link to this and all the other industry news stories are in the show notes below. So be sure to check them out. The 2023 Ambies are open for entry. If you're not a member of the Podcast Academy, I highly encourage you to. I'm in my second year and I'm finding value with the Podcast Academy. So I encourage you to check it out, see what they've got going on over there. The Crowd Ultra Podcast Awards. Now, this is a podcast awards I've not heard of. I'm going to read and learn a little more about them. But what caught my eye was 50 plus categories you could submit your show to. This was a little intriguing, so I made a note and we'll check them out. I do not know what they're asking price wise to enter their award system. I have no idea what their awards ceremony is like. However, check it out. Let me know what you think. Now, lastly, this piece came to me from Medium, and this gentleman wrote an article entitled 3 Reasons You Should Stop Paying for Ad Space on Podcasts. So this obviously piqued my attention. Now, full disclaimer, this seems a bit self-serving because he runs a podcast production studio as well. So he's telling people, don't buy ads, start your own podcast, and of course, use me. I'm not quite to that level. If you're promoting an event, a sale, podcast ads would be a great way to get that message out there. Having a podcast, of course, I'm going to encourage everyone to have a podcast because I love the medium. I want other people to love the medium just as much as I do. But I want you to read this article. Let me know what you think about it. Again, I felt it to be a little self-serving. The book of the month, Healing Career Wounds, your startup secret weapon to attract, hire, and retain ridiculously successful people by Rick Girard. Our very own Rick Girard, the host of the Higher Power radio show. I've learned a lot about hiring, recruiting from him, working on his show over the last couple of years. And there's a few things in this book about phrasing questions during the interview process that can be applied to guests. So that's one reason I included it in today's list. The other reason, he's a podcaster. This book comes from years of work on his podcast. And number 3, at some point in time, you're going to have to hire a freelancer or maybe a part-time employee to help you with your podcast production. And if so, this book is great insight on how to do that effectively. We've got a crossword puzzle out this month. This will be the last year we do the crossword puzzle, so we hope you enjoyed them. If not, you can go to previous issues of a podcaster's newsletter and grab all the back copies and their answer keys for your amusement. We'd like to thank you for joining us today. And until next week, talk to you soon.